There we go. Good evening, everybody. I hope we're all doing well. All right, let's see here. Okay, so we did get quite a good little bit done last go around. We finished off our Eder caps and all their fun dark hued glory. We were able to get both of those finished and painted up. We were also able to get the Yakel, which actually turned out pretty good, all things considered, given that yellow is such a fun pain in the ass to paint with. The Drow Wizard, which I actually think he turned out pretty well in terms of, surprising vibrancy in the colors that they turned out with. And then, of course, the two Drow soldiers, the Archer and Knight. Well, I will accept that I'm happy as hell that you survived it. I think we all have, and I definitely agree. Monday came a little too quickly for my taste as well. But hey, we've made it. We're moving forward, and we're already one day down to the week. So that's the best way that we can look at that. So, we don't necessarily have anything new per se going on this go round. So what we're going to do is we are going to finish up the final horror of the Underdark, which is our Cloaker. And then I'm going to make good on a promise I made a couple years back, and we are going to open up and work on my friend's wreath, because I was able to pull it out of the closet. And we're just going to try and work on that a good little bit. That way we can just go ahead and clear that incredibly long awaited project off of our list here. So let's see, we're going to use that, this. That and white. Alright. So, Hydration Nation, everybody, just in case. Start us off pretty well, and we'll just go ahead and jump into things tonight. See if my hands will keep up well with me tonight. Because I know last couple streams I've been throwing some of these miniatures around a little bit. Let's see if I can prevent that from happening tonight. But I am happy to hear that Ramesine and Pine, that you're doing well. I hope the rest of you are also doing well this evening, afternoon, morning, or night, whatever it is that it finds you. And hopefully your week has either started off well, or at the very least it is going to go well enough to the weekend so that it can be a good week. But Ramesine, I am very interested to see how that diorama of yours turns out now that you've got your paints and stuff locked in that you're planning on doing. I think that's going to turn out fantastic. wind up probably needing 2 coats of this brown. Make sure that it's nice and dark enough. I gotta make sure I've got... I know for the wreath I plan to use blues, reds, maybe some yellows. It's gonna be, it'll be nice. It's a pretty big wreath, so it's gonna be a nice little project. I'm perfectly fine. I expect to be blown up, especially once you start making it, making progress with it. I think that's going to turn out amazing because it already knowing what you have and what you're planning to do with it is already I have a decent picture of it in my mind. I think that's going to be fantastic. Because I've never actually built a diorama. I probably should think about maybe doing like a couple of... Maybe I'll do that after a while, is just either go and get like the same type of minis that you guys created or picked out yourselves from the game store. I may see if I can talk to my guy, order the same ones, and then create like dioramas of some of you guys' greater moments from the D&D campaigns itself. That could be something I could do maybe a year or two from now. That could be a lot of fun, actually. Given the amount of shenanigans and chaos that you guys get up to, it would be kind of hard to pick just one moment. But it could be a lot of fun to do that. Yeah, we're gonna want to go back over this at least once more with that brown to ensure that it has the correct darkness of cave brown that I'm wanting to do. That'll be good though. But again, I'm happy to hear that, at least everybody survived the Monday. I'll happily take that. And we'll, hopefully the rest of the week continues to go by smooth for us. Because I know I'm already tired from this week. And it's only Monday. Nothing worse than already being tired of the week and it's only Monday. But again, hopefully it'll wind up... I mean, today was surprisingly not that bad. It wound up going by pretty smoothly. It's just, I don't know, man. I guess I've hit that point in the job where I'm just... I know I'm overworked. I know I'm a little underpaid. And I'm tired. And there's no amount of rest that is going to fix that. I both love and hate that because, I don't hate my job. It's enjoyable enough as it is, but I mean, just definitely getting worn down and tired. Especially with all the constant back and forth of training temps, undoing the mistakes that the temps that have been trained make, and just trying to keep, the status quo of us getting everything done by the end of the day taken care of is definitely starting to take its toll. So, eventually something's either going to give or I'm going to find something else to do. We'll see. Hopefully something will give before I have to start looking in any real seriousness. But honestly, this is probably the best way to end a long, tiring day, is just sitting here letting a little bit of that fun, creative juice flow to change how a hunk of plastic looks. So we'll see how things wind up going. But yeah, Pine, I definitely feel you on that. Definitely feeling that we've survived the Monday. So hopefully it continues in a upward spiral. One can at least hope. But yeah, I'll definitely look into the idea of creating dioramas. That's something that, I mean, I've definitely got enough minis to create one. It's just, I never really thought to kind of just create a full scene for some reason. Okay, here we go. That brown is good done. Just need to let it dry for a second. And we're going to attempt not to use the black for the primer this go round, because it just seems to really, I've noticed at least on a couple of these figures, it definitely seems to overly darken or bleed a couple of things through these through the figures. And even when you think you've hit everything just right, I'll then catch a weird little glimpse of, oh, nope, that got through. I didn't notice that. I should have, but I didn't. A little bit of that darker color is still bleeding through, and then I wind up having to go back and touch up figures that are already done. So we're just going to see if we can't ignore, to the best of our ability, that black primer tonight. Because this figure in and of itself should actually go by fairly quickly, just simply because it's a fairly large mini and I'm mostly using just a couple of colors for it. Welcome in there, honey. I hope you're doing alright tonight. Hopefully you have survived the Monday as well. Barely survived the Sunday. Oh, did they have you working this Sunday? I'm terribly sorry. I'm sure that was irritatingly boring as can be. Or were you guys just super busy because, everybody thought that, it would be better? Oh, of course. Of course. Why would that not happen? So how long did they make you suffer before at least letting you know that they were going to have to come off of their high horse to relieve you themselves? Oh, good Lord. I'm so sorry, honey. That sucks. And I definitely do not envy or miss it. I can imagine that it did. But hopefully, the rest of the week won't be anywhere near as bad. Hopefully the rest of the week you guys can just kind of relax and coast through. Yeah, definitely knocking on whatever wood we can for you, because I definitely want the rest of my week to go by as somewhat smooth as today ran, because it was rather easy to get through things today, which makes me overly suspicious for the rest of the week. But, hey, we'll make the best of it. One way or another, it'll work out. But tonight, we're at least going to knock out the last of the figures that I've bought recently, other than the Rock, which I think we will start that after I knock out the big project that I've been holding off on for way too long. So we're going to use this as motivation for me to get that done. We're going to get our former co-worker, my former co-worker's wreath done. Hopefully by Friday. We'll see if I can manage to pull that off. So we'll probably wind up working a good bit on it this stream, and then working a good bit on it possibly on Wednesday as well. Yeah, I wound up pulling it out, so I've got it sitting here on the floor next to me. It's actually a bit bigger than I remembered it being, so we're gonna just give it the good old college try. See what we can do and see if we can't get that finally done since, it's been 2-3 years in the making now. Feel a little bad that it's taken me this long to get motivated enough to knock it out and get it taken care of. Yeah, this is going to need at least 2 coats. You're still wet. Yeah, I hear you. You're still going to outlive me. Slowly but surely. We're currently working on the Cloaker, which is the last creature that I have from the Underdark that I recently acquired. So this is a type of creature that will essentially just hang upside down to look like a stalagmite or stalactite. They hang from the ceiling, and they will essentially just kind of mimic stone structure up there. And then when people least expect it, it will swoop down and essentially just try and smother its prey. So they're terrifying evil little shits that love to ambush. So we are getting that done, and that will cement the last of my quote-unquote Underdark runs that I got. Oh yeah, these little things are... Well, I mean, you encountered them on your first run before the Elder Brain Dragon. You encountered that in Ropers, which sit on the ground and mimic stone structures and then try and lash out and reel people in like rocky fishing poles. So, I mean, you guys survived your first run-in with those. It was the Elder Brain Dragon that gave you guys a little bit of a trip up. Because that was when you all started just trying to utilize the weaponry that was on your wagons to kind of blast through most of the troubles you were encountering. Absolutely love these little monstrosities. Yeah, no, Ropers are especially vile just because once they incapacitate or fully grapple a player or a creature, they just slowly start reeling them in to start munching on them. It is both wondrous and terrifying. because especially once a player gets reeled into the jaws, it is nearly, unless you outright just destroy the creature, it becomes nearly impossible just to like pull your friend out of it. You've essentially just got to go full annihilation mode against the creature to get to let go. Yeah, we're definitely going to need 2 strokes of that. Pretty much, yeah. Whereas these guys are more, you know, they'll swoop down, they'll wrap somebody up, and they'll start suffocating you and, you know, trying to bite you as well. So they're a fun little mixed bag of a personal nightmare of claustrophobia. So it's a fun creature. Yep, and already in a cave underground where it's dark, you can't really see all that well, and these things are almost always around. Like, they're one of those creatures that you know they're out there. It's really only a matter of time for when you get ambushed by them. Not so much of if it's going to happen, it's just when it will happen. But they're really fun to throw at, you know, low-level parties because you can't really... Like, if one of them wraps up one of your teammates, you can't really just run over there and start stabbing it, or you run the risk of stabbing your teammate because they're still wrapped up in this creature. So yeah, they're really fun to throw at low-level parties because it's just something that's there, and it's something that can do a lot of damage, but also they're kind of flimsy. Yeah, pretty much, which is why ropers are kind of hard to deal with comparatively to the cloakers. Because cloakers are, you know, they're essentially just like weird manta ray bats. They're still very fleshy and, you know, easy enough to deal with. In fact, they're a whole hell of a lot easier to deal with as opposed to ropers. Ropers, their bodies are literally just as strong as the stone around them, so most conventional weapons that, you know, that don't do bludgeoning damage just make it to where it's incredibly hard to do anything with them. Because you really have to either have some kind of explosive use, really good magical use, or you have to just be strong enough to throw the rock off of you, but they also have that weirdly adhesive, it's almost kind of like how mimics have adhesion qualities, so once they lash out and catch you with one of their tendrils, it's basically just, alright, now you're stuck to this thing and it's just slowly going to start reeling you towards it so that it can try and chomp on you. Which is, yeah, even more horrifying when you're stuck in a tendril, you're grappled, so you can't really move all that well. And you're just slowly getting reeled into this rock with a giant eye in the middle of its body and a maw that just keeps opening up as you get closer. Terrible, terrible way to go. I mean, really, the best option is you can outrun them. Those things are not very fast at all because, again, they're mostly ambush hunters that kind of mostly stand still for the majority of their time. So you can get away from them in terms of speed. You just have to dodge getting hit by them while you're trying to get away from them. And then they're not so bad just because they don't have the movement speed to, chase after you. I mean, hey man, you're in the Underdark. You're in their backyard, not the other way around. So Full Potato, I think, is his version of just like going full defensive mode to where you don't do anything other than just move. Yeah, you guys were you guys were quite hilariously creative in throwing each other back and forth and just trying to utilize explosive scorpion ballistas mounted on your wagons to just blast your way through that chunk of the encounter, and then once you had a clear path, you all wholeheartedly just fucking booked it without giving it a second thought and just ran. Which really, great fucking idea, to be honest. You were overwhelmed and surprised, and you didn't know what the hell was going on, other than, for most of you, it just looked like the rocks came alive and were trying to eat you. That blue is actually turning out really nice. Oh yeah, the shit my players get up to is so much fun to listen to and to see unfold at the table. Yes, he's actually the perpetrator of the idea that caused that. He's not one of the ones who participated. He was the mastermind of that. Though that was the other group, as I technically run two groups where they play. Basically, they're playing two separate. Most of the same players are playing a whole nother party in another spot in the same campaign world. With a high likelihood that eventually the parties will cross paths. And that will be a hilariously chaotic moment where all of a sudden I now turn all of you over to playing multiple characters at once. And I get to sit back and laugh evilly as the DM while you guys try and figure out your two character sheets. Oh, it's going to be great, especially if the party happens to have a problem with each other. because then that just means I get to sit back and watch my players create their own drama while laughing maniacally and sipping from my drink. Which, given the party makeup of both, I wholeheartedly expect to happen at least at some point. Go. We get multiple personalities as a treat. Oh, it will be some of my most hilarious work to date if I can pull off a full crossover episode between the two parties and somehow not either have them kill each other or have them attempt to murder the other. One party try to murder the other party. Especially since one of my players is finally coming back home at some point in the next couple months. So as soon as he gets home, especially once we get the house settled, there is going to be a nice big, welcome home / housewarming party that I plan to do, and it is just going to be a blast to have everybody there. Especially our boy coming back home. It has been far too long. And after all the shenanigans that have happened over the past year and a half, 2 years that he's been gone, it'll just be fantastic to have him home again. Make sure not to completely cover those up, because we're gonna add a little bit of splash of color there. Oh yeah, so I'm definitely super excited. This summer is gonna be full of a lot of prep, planning, and a lot of good is going to be happening this summer. Because, we'll hopefully by the end of summer, we'll fully have the house set up the way that we want. The Gremlins will have their full setup. I'll have my full setup. And we'll just essentially get to rock it out exactly the way that we really want to going forward. And of course that means I'll be able to do... Oh, they are ecstatic is the word I would use. And I will definitely be swinging by work quite a bit to get a couple of things to ensure that these projects go by without too much trouble. They are ecstatic. I myself am excited. And once everything winds up coming together and coming to fruition, it is just going to be perfect. So we'll see how things wind up progressing, but it's looking to be pretty decent by the time summer rolls around. Alright, let's see. But like I mentioned, just due to the amount of things that I need to get done here, yeah, you and Rez is the player character's name. You and Rez pulled an absolute masterclass of both intrigue and villainy at the same time. And only after you had succeeded in pulling off your theatrical display did you realize that those hostages were valuable not just to the pirates you were fighting, but could have been very valuable to you. And you made the wonderful choice to sacrifice them anyway. So eventually, there will be those consequences will ride back, and come full circle. But that's a secret I get to keep in my pocket for a while. Because I will purposely wait until it is the most inconvenient of times for that to come and bite you all in the ass. But it eventually will. As no matter what you did, no matter how well intentioned your plan was and how surprisingly well it went off, you are the reason that me and the other DM have an open Google source document titled the Neverwinter Accord so that we can keep track of all the party's war crimes and eventually come up with a trial called the Neverwinter Accord. I mean, I don't deny that, but at the same time, that also could have been handled in such a uniquely more fun. Well, I wouldn't even say more fun because you guys definitely made your choices in a hilarious display. But you could have earned quite a bit of favor. You could have earned quite a hefty reward at some point, but now you have unintentionally turned yourselves into wanted criminals for destroying noble lines left, right, and center. Oh yes, I have regaled the tales of our party or the parties quite often at work, especially when we were slow. It was really enjoyable to keep ourselves sane by hearing and retelling the shenanigans that you and the Chaos Troop would wind up getting into. Oh, you could have had there would have been things that I would have taken into consideration. Just because you're playing a Warforged does not mean that there aren't things that you wouldn't want. things like your main objective that you were attempting to pursue. There could have been scholars and whatnot on board that would have happily given you places for you to search for your goal, or at least helped research your goal. I mean, correct, things you probably would have taken given your character motivation, but it would have been offered to you, and your bot is not completely devoid of diplomacy, as you have showcased that more than once, that you are not fully devoid of diplomacy. You prefer your chaos method, but you are not devoid of diplomacy altogether. Okay, there we go. The rest of you is still quite wet. Don't worry, I'm well aware of how your character operates. And I would have I have my ways to try to circumnavigate some of the shenanigans while adding twice as many to the table, as any good DM should. Okay. Let's see. Splash color here. Just a little something to make him stand out a little. A little bit of texture down here. Go. Alright, now just the last bit of detail on this, and surprisingly, this one's already almost done. Like I said, I knew this one wouldn't take very long to work on. absolutely nothing wrong with that. And like I said, I'm very happy to see what brand of chaos you wind up attempting to continue to pursue in the pursuit of your goal. Because to me, watching you interact, especially watching you interact with the party, is to me that is about half the fun as it is. Just watching you go out of your way to interact with the party the way that you do. You pursue your old primary directive. There is a difference. You do not perceive necessarily what is right and what is wrong. You just perceive what your directive is giving you the direction to go in. But I guess in a hilarious turn of events, that's not even really your fault that that is how you perceive the world. Considering lore-wise, what you're essentially just supposed to be an ancient automaton from the Calamity era, still attempting to fulfill its primary programming in a battle against gods that no longer threaten the prime material plane. So again, that's not necessarily even your character's fault. I know what I said. I absolutely love it. I honestly can't wait to start these games back up again. They are going to be such a blast to sit back and go wild in. Because at this point, I honestly feel that more D&D is definitely a wonderful medicine at this point. It's way cheaper than therapy, and we get to flirt with our friends in the most hilariously semi-platonic way possible. Surprisingly, I don't think they are planning anything in terms of like ditching any member of the party. As chaotic as you all are, you definitely hit that hilariously. These guys are weird, but these are my kind of weird people vibe. And you already know for a fact that Rez isn't going to let you, you know, stray too far from his belt buckle. As I think he just absolutely adores the fact that he hilariously has himself a wisecracking Mimir on his belt. Not the correct one. So that should, in theory, mean you are the correct one. You are even worse. Okay. Very well then. Alright. Let's see if we can finish you off then. Toss you on your base. No, I think they're the same color orange. It's just one is basically unusable and the other one isn't terribly much better. As it seems that both of these have almost fully set and cemented themselves in their current states. So I'm just trying to make the best of what very little I even need from them. Well, that's working out pretty well. But then again, orange is a color I don't necessarily see a whole different lot of hues in, so if it is orange, I very well may not know if they're different oranges. It's a vegetable glycerin. Okay. I might look into that. Well, I mean, to be fair, some of these paints that I have sitting here in front of me are like 5 or 6 years old. Okay, hell yeah, man. That is awesome as hell. But yeah, some of these uh, some of these paints that I'm using are upwards of like 5 or 6 years old, if not older. So I can't really complain about some of them. Like the orange, I know for a fact is very old, as I hardly ever use oranges, and those that I do, I don't use them in overly high quantities. So the fact that I've gotten 2 of them to the point that they're at, I've used them well enough. So, and again, I'm also just using very, very cheap acrylic paints to begin with. So this is not necessarily something I'm at a great loss for should one of them like fully freeze up on me or what have you. Okay. I believe that. Oh, a ring pommel for it. Okay. That actually would be kind of interesting. So almost kind of like a Guandao with like a heavy ring pommel. That could be interesting. Alright, let's see if I can get this annoying thing to cooperate with me. I despise these overly smooth discs. Okay, I very much look forward to seeing how that winds up turning out then. I love how I took such great care to ensure that that wouldn't get on my fingers, and somehow it still did. And I don't even know from where. Interesting. All right. There we have our cloaker in all of its fun, flying monstrous glory. So let me see if I can clean this crap off my finger before it fully sets and makes it to where I have to lose a bit of skin in the process. Close enough. It's not going to cause me too much trouble. All right. Okay. Okay. I mean, hey, nothing wrong with a good poleaxe variation. Alright, so now this is going to be interesting because you are going to be weirdly large for my work area. So let's see if we can get this opened up and get to work on it. So nice of them to add zip ties to it. Or, well, these unnecessarily large twist ties. Especially in such a convoluted pattern. This is what our coworker gave to me for me to finally get off my lazy ass and paint it for them. So you let her know I'm working on it. No, I mean, that's perfectly fair there, Ramesine. I can fully understand that. Proof of life. That fully works. Okay. I mean, it is very pretty. Don't get me wrong. It's quite large for me, for my little work area here. But allow me to move several things around, and I might just be able to fit this on the table. Then once we get everything set up on the table, we can do. So a few years back, and I feel a little guilty about this, one of my former coworkers handed me, they saw that I was painting, you know, my minis, and I was showcasing them here and there at work. And they asked me that they had this beautiful little butterfly wreath. They wanted, since I was, in their words, as talented as I was in turning, you know, dull grays into something incredible, she wanted me to essentially do the same to this as a whole thing. Well, welcome in, Cozy.
Cozy the Owl.
I hope you guys are all doing well. Welcome in, Raiders. Welcome in, Aset. I hope you all are doing well. How was Life is Strange 2 tonight, Cozy? We continue hunting for the mysteries that have yet to be named. It was strange. Okay. As long as it was perfectly strange, that's all that matters. But alright, so yeah, a former coworker gave this to me like 3-4 years ago. and asked me to essentially do the same thing I do for my minis to this little, well, this rather intricate wreath. So that is what I'm going to be attempting to do, at least tonight. We're going to pretty much utilize almost all of the colors we have to our advantage. Even the god-awful yellows. I'm not going to use the browns. I'm going to use the metallics, no need for that. The red, yes. That's brown. Same kind of green. That's a dark green. It's two dark colors. We'll utilize a little bit of black. More in sync than Olympics. Hey, we love it here. If you can't be goofy with your friends, is it really worth being goofy at all? And that's also how you know you're good friends with people, is you start sharing the one brain cell back and forth. Even when you're not meaning to. Okay, so the real trick question is where the hell to begin on this? And how the hell to begin on this? We'll start small. There we go. Have yourself a wonderful night there, Ramesine. I hope you get you some good rest, and hopefully tomorrow will be productive in the best ways for you and relaxing in the best ways for you as well. Oh, really? That okay, that's not necessarily a great thing to start with. But I mean, it's definitely a thing to go with. Okay. So, all right, I think we can do this. We'll do all of the antennae with black, which should make all the other colors pop out pretty well. So this is going to be, this is probably going to be a multi-day project. So strap in, everybody. We're in this one for the long haul. But by the time this gets done, it should look, I'm hoping it will look good. But we shall definitely see. We're just going to see about going ahead and hitting all the antennae. At least all the antennae that we can, without causing too big of a ruckus or fuss about it. Ah, and the ends justify the means. Well, I mean, yes and no. I think that just always, for me, that just, for whatever reason, will always go back to the Spider Man parable of, having the power, doesn't necessarily mean you should just use it, willy nilly without, an understanding of it yourself, but also with the power that you wield, so too comes the responsibility of how you wield it. I mean, for some people, there will be people who empathize with characters like that, and that's perfectly fine. But that also kind of does have a little bit of a telling when it comes to if power were granted, you were definitely not high on my list of people I would want to grant power to for said reason. Here comes Big Swish. But yeah, I mean, like the idea of, hey, you have power, you need to be willing to use it responsibly, not just for yourself. And yeah, I mean, have the power to manipulate time and mess with, paradoxical parallels. I mean, yeah, I mean, I could see doing things that would wind up being very self-centered for myself, but at the same time, I would also want to ensure that not just me benefits from having these powers. I don't know, just I guess fundamental difference of mindset there. Is that but I also understand who I could easily become if I had, power to do anything remotely like that. I would be a problem for everybody, and I understand that. Which is why I'm probably one of the first to advocate against it. It's because, I know what I would do if given the chance with, power like that. I could imagine someone far worse than I, and I consider myself to be at least a fairly decent person. But if I know that I would be tempted to use that power irresponsibly, then someone who is a worse person than I would wind up creating an even bigger problem than I would. So for me, like, I have the understanding and the empathy of, like, yeah, I get it, but still no. Because, kind of having that kind of power makes you special. You should use it for the benefit of yourself and others, not just yourself and, because the ends justify the means. But hey, I'm glad that you're finding out a little bit more of the strangeness of the mysteries. What is what? Oh, it was okay. So, was it actually you, or was it a doppelganger that wound up screwing up your main timeline? Or was it just a quote-unquote corrupted version of yourself? Having the ends justify the means conversation. Ah, okay. So it was just a very weird candid shot? Here, a thing that very easily could incriminate me in the event that something terrible happens to you. What could go wrong? Surely this could never come back to bite me in any negative way. Well, that would be preposterous. I mean, hey. But ultimately, the real question is, did you enjoy yourself while you finished this game, Cozy? As that is always the measure of whether it was a good run, was whether you enjoyed the shenanigans that it presented, or if it left more questions than answers by the end. Oh boy. We're gonna move stuff that. We're gonna turn you this way. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, there's a new one coming out, right? Or is it like a remaster of one of the older ones? Or did they change all of it with that cat ending? Ah, okay. So you got a whole brand new one coming out. Okay. Well, hopefully they will do a little bit better in terms of how this one plays itself out. I very much hope so. Because I've heard nothing but good things about the first one. Your playthrough of the second one was the first time that I'd actually watched the second one. So, I hope that this new one will be a good story all the way through. Alright, let's see. This is a little bit trickier, just due to everything being so intricately layered on top of each other. So, Aset, has your book arrived yet? For your beacon reading? Or is it still in transit to you? It's such a pain in the neighbor on this table. There we go. I guess he must have gone and gotten himself a drink or something. That'll be fine. But how about you, Cozy? How goes the creative ideas for you on your end? Hopefully, I'm hoping your creativity is flowing in fun, unpredictable ways. Okay, let's see. See here. Okay, this is actually going by a lot. At least this small detail part here is at least going by a lot smoother than I was expecting it to. Okay, just 1 second. Let me check something. Losing my footing here. Probably not a good idea. There we go. Just insanely slow and steady. Okay. Okay. You know, I probably should have taken a picture of this thing before, and then I could have taken an after picture, and that would have probably looked really good. More you know. Oh well, I'll just utilize the box, I guess, for what it once looked like, as opposed to what it is slowly becoming. And you know, not bad for being down on a kitchen table after multiple years of waiting. Maybe need to do a couple touch passes on some of this though. We're making good progress, so I can't really complain there. It's so awkward to try and maneuver. Okay, we're making good. Making good on it. Well, he's not bad for a colorblind fool. right. Yep. So once these... All right, honey, you have yourself a wonderful evening. I hope you get you some good sleep. And if you see our former coworker tomorrow, just let her know I haven't forgotten. I'm working on it. And I'll see if I can't get it done before the end of the week. That way, we don't have to worry about it. Maybe I can find some time here soon to be able to swing it by. As that would probably be a nice little surprise. I hope that they will, but you have yourself a wonderful evening there, honey, and we'll talk at you soon. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Okay. Occurs to me I'm not wearing my glasses, which explains why I'm having such an interesting time here, seeing what I'm trying to do. Let me go grab those, and then I think I'm forming a game plan on how I'm going to go about painting all of these butterflies. Okay, yeah, I don't know how or why I forgot these things. Okay. Much better. Much better. Alright. Okay, yeah. Let's see. Best I can with freehanding on metal. honestly, if I can just get the majority of these set up in a way that I can just start splashing color on them, I think that would turn out incredibly well. Okay, let's see here. This is going to be fun and challenge with all of these overlapping angles. But I think we'll manage to figure it out. Okay. Slowly but surely making some good progress. slowly but surely it's coming together. This idea is all of these that have the little designs here on the outsides of the wing. We'll also do those in a black, and then hopefully that will help the primary color that I will splash on the outside of it pop a little bit more. Making it look a lot more vibrant. At least that is the hope. No worries there, Cozy. You go ahead and get you some good rest. Especially since, you did stream tonight and you've got, I assume that you've probably got work tomorrow as well. So yeah, by all means, go get you some good rest. We're just going to make as much progress as we can on this tonight. And I assume depending on how much I can get done tonight, we will probably wind up finishing this, if we're lucky, on Wednesday. But you get you some good rest, Cozy, and we will talk at you here fairly soon. We'll either catch you in streams tomorrow, or we'll catch you maybe the next time you're streaming, or if nothing else, we'll catch you the next time I am, if we don't find you in the server. But go ahead and get you some good rest, Cozy. We'll talk to you soon. Though, if you will excuse me for just one moment, there is a matter that I'm hearing in the other room that requires my attention. Unfortunately, my eldest, it seems the allergies are not treating him very well, so give me just a moment to ensure he's alright and taken care of so he can sleep. Okay. Apologies, just wanted to make sure that he was alright and going to be able to sleep, as I heard him coughing in the other room, and unfortunately his allergies just absolutely beat the crap out of him when the seasons change like they have here. As the weather where I'm at is incredibly temperamental. It was high 80s all last week. It rained one day, and now we're back down to the 60s. It was a cool, breezy 60-something today. I don't think he had his medicine over the weekend, so now it's just trying to get the medicine back into his system so that it works as intended. So unfortunately, he's going to be miserable for a day or so, but I'll do everything I can to try and mitigate it. Alright. Let's see if we can maneuver to the next rung here. Welcome in there, Callie. I hope you're doing alright tonight. We're working on a little bit of an old project that I've had stashed away for way too long, so trying to finally get that out of the way, as I know my former coworker will be very happy to see this once it's done. But I do hope that your night's going by well. It's not been too bad. We survived the Monday. Definitely a little more tiring than I would have wanted it to be, but you know, we got through it, so now we're just kind of relaxing and taking care of some old promises. Now that we've, you know, I mean, hey, we'll take being alive. We will take being alive. I take it was another quote-unquote fun day at work. Ah, okay. Well, hopefully you can avoid a storm from brewing. Hopefully and if it does brew, then hopefully it is a very minor one. As I know we had a pretty decent little storm roll in on Saturday. Well, late Saturday night, early Sunday morning. But hopefully it's just dark clouds moving in and then moving right out. Hopefully it's not anything severe past that. Ah, okay. Mental a mental night then, hey? Well, then hopefully you'll be able to just kind of curl up and get a little bit of peace tonight. And if not, we're always here and our ears always open to you. So hopefully, even if it winds up being a stormy night mentally, you've got friends here, and we're happy to help you weather those kind of storms. As I'm a little more well versed in those nights than I'd probably like to admit. But in the just in case, take a hydration check, take a deep breath, and you did take your medicine, didn't you? Do a quick med check, and then breathe in deep and slowly exhale. You've made it through today, and you've weathered far greater storms than this. But you've got friends here that are happy to help you weather it, and we're all gonna make it through. As for the Fire Nation, fair, fair. Nothing wrong with being a little cat brain there, Kelly. Ultimately, just, hydrate, med check, and once that's done, just take a deep breath in and out. A little. That depends on what it is you're being cat brained about. Good, good, good. Well, then you can relax. You've made it through to the end of the day. You're now surrounded by friends. And you can unwind. And enjoy the things that you wish to enjoy. Whatever helps keep the unnecessary storm clouds from forming. But even if they form, we're here for you, just like we're here for everyone else. You don't have to thank me, Callie. This is what friends are for. We take care of each other and take care of our own. That's what makes it all worthwhile. Is I know there have definitely been days that I've had that I've just really not enjoyed being a part of anything. Yet, hopping into the server with all of you goobers, or hopping into a stream where everybody's sitting back and just relaxing or whatnot, definitely helps pull me out of the slump, so to speak. And knowing that I am happily a part of this and surrounded by all these wonderful people definitely makes it worthwhile. No, don't do that. There we go. Hey, there we go. And I mean, hey, you're fixing that record player up. That's actually kind of impressive. That seems to be an almost lost art nowadays. Because not too many people still remember how to mess with vinyl and record players. So the fact that you've gotten it in a working state and can identify that you need a little bit of work for the counterweight on the tone arm says a lot, actually. And hey, getting everything, hey, even if you've got help, you're still the one doing it, are you not? That's still impressive. Because I know if you put a music box of any kind in front of me, whether it was a record player or not, I wouldn't know what to do with it. There you go. And also, congrats on being, the appointment for therapy. I hope it winds up going well and being what you need it to be. And that therapy in itself can be an exciting thing. New opportunities to learn, new opportunities to grow in certain ways. That's the best way to look at it. And yeah, and learning about it, even if it's just simple, mechanical ideas. Yeah, you'll get to hold on to that and be able to, the next time it decides it wants to skip or act a little wonky, you'll know exactly what it is that caused it. Oh. Okay. Then yeah, even more. That's even better. There you go. And hey, if nothing else, now you have a fun little project to work on as well. Because every bit of progress that you're going to make on that is going to feel absolutely fantastic because you're the one who did it. And even better when you succeed after taking the journey to learn everything that you're currently learning and working towards. When you set that vinyl back down on it and it plays without skipping a beat and plays beautifully as if it were brand new, you are going to feel absolutely fantastic in that accomplishment. So the question at that point just turns into what will be that record once you get to that point? What will be her quote unquote revival song? As that will be something fun to think on and experience once you get it to that point. And especially if it's still a good vintage one. Because sadly, I don't know a whole lot about those. I have some experience with old record players thanks to my grandfather, but I know nothing about models, makes, or what makes a good vinyl player versus a bad one. What makes a vintage one versus what makes a, mass-produced modern one. Okay. Let's see here. One more turn of the table here. Alright. My question is, what color and where the hell am I going to start on all this? Go. Let's see. Okay. So the question simply becomes, where does one acquire a good, counterbalance for the tone arm? And at that point, how much weight needs to go behind the counterbalance in order for it to, function in its proper new state? Typically eBay, okay. I wish you the best of luck with that, because they're a lot more reputable now than they used to be. I remember when people were getting scammed on eBay, because I'm that old, where eBay was the Craigslist of possible. You're either going to get what you asked for, or you're going to get something way worse than what you asked for. Interesting times. Interesting times indeed. Okay. I didn't get a single drop of paint on that. Let's try that again. No, that's completely fair, because, I mean, especially with, niche parts to things that are not typically made like they used to be made. But I don't know. You might. Does it still have the? Does it still have its customer service number on the piece of equipment? Because if it does, surprisingly, a few of those may actually still be up and running. And if they are, they might be able to, they might still have a few parts on hand to send, or they might have a better option to acquire a part. Because surprisingly, I found out through, I thought it was a meme post, but as it turns out, a guy was trying to rebuild his old PlayStation 1, and he saw that the Sony support line was, he saw that it had the number inside the console, so he called it just to see if anybody would pick up, and lo and behold, they were still active. And they were able to help him essentially break down the user manual, find the part that he thought was going bad, test it, and then they actually sent him a brand new part for what he needed replaced. For, an almost 30-year-old system. Man, that hurts. That hurts a little bit. Because I still have my PlayStation 1. Okay. Blue. Disintegrates. Uh-oh. Oh, you don't know what a PlayStation 1 is? Is that what I'm getting, Callie? Cause I remember Pepperidge Farm remembers with me. That was like the golden age. Well, PS2 was probably PS2, Xbox 360, and the Wii were probably the golden age of console gaming. Okay, you're gonna take 2 coats there. I will agree with you on that, as I had more games on my PlayStation 2 than I think I've had on any other console. I still have my PS2. I still have my memory cards for my PS2. And I still have a good chunk of my gaming library that I went out of my way to ensure that I had. And I agree, it was definitely one of the best consoles ever created. I have more memories on my PS2 than I have of really many other consoles that I've ever had. The only console I wish I hadn't really gotten rid of was my 360. I traded it in to be able to upgrade to the PS4. Because at the time, me and my ex-wife came to the agreement that the majority of the games that were about to come out that we wanted to enjoy were coming out on the PlayStation. You know what? I actually have a copy of Champions of Norath, which was a really old top-down, like hack and slash PS2 game. And it looks like it's a hockey puck. Now, hilariously, my buddy gave me his PS2 Slim. His PS2 Slim would not read that disc. Oh, I still have the Sly Cooper collection. I have all the originals that came out for the PS2 except for Sly Racing, because unfortunately that was when your when your game series died. Was when and I have the ability to play the remastered versions on my PS5 as well as Thieves in Time. Oh, 100%. Such fantastic games. I have incredibly fond memories of running through and frustratingly trying to get through entire areas in, just a short amount of time. Only to then realize that I needed to go all the way back to the beginning and find all of the clues that I missed so that I could actually complete the Thievius Raccoonus, because I myself, as a young old, was just impatient and wanted to move on to the next level. little did I know there was actually good worth in being thorough and going through everything. But that also probably ties a little bit into when I was a kid. I was allowed to play games, I just wasn't allowed to spend essentially a whole lot of time on the games because I was still very much, hey, you go outside and you play, you're a kid. You don't need to sit in front of a TV all the time. Which I complained about it then, but I am actually quite thankful that that was the mentality because I wouldn't have as many scars or memories as I do now. So, fun fact, you can actually, I know my comic store still sell, like, they do trade ins and whatnot. My comic store does have, like, a whole collection of PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 games, and I know they sell like the good old AV adapters for incredibly cheap. In fact, I think you can just, if you don't have like a old CRT television, you can quite literally get a there's a little converter kit that plugs directly into the console itself that just turns it into an HDMI cable so that you can play it on modern TVs instead of running the audio visual jacks. Oh yeah, no, I definitely was very much in the same boat. I grew up in a household where, you know, as soon as mom got home, we would get kicked out of the house while she decided what we were doing for dinner, and that was her calm and relaxation time after work. And honestly, I don't blame her for not wanting to deal with me and my siblings. So yeah, we would get kicked out of the house, and we would just be kind of set loose on the neighborhood. Sometimes that was a great thing, other times it was not, especially in my case. Oh, good lord, yep. Gods above and below, yep. I heard that phrase countless times. But, at the time you complain about it, not realizing that in a way, despite how it felt, it was doing us a favor. Because we actually got to go outside and live and form, core memories and whatnot of being kids. Oh yeah, no, we did that. My mother was very much like, hey, you come home when the street lights come on, then got mad at me when the street lights magically no longer came on, because, me and neighbor kid got our hands on some BB guns and we shot out the street lights so we didn't have to come home at a certain time. There was lots of fun. there were lots of fun memories to be had back then. It was a good time. I will admit the world was much simpler and much better back then. And it depended on the neighbor, I guess. I know we had a couple of crazy individuals in our neighborhood. We had one crazy older lady who lived at the end of her near the end of our street. She very much just hated people. Is probably the best way that I can put that. And she would lose her shit if we came over there trying to get, if we were playing ball in the street or something and it rolled back into her yard, if one of our dogs was out roaming about and got into her yard, like she would legitimately try and run you down with a lawnmower or weed eater if you got too close to her house. She was She was a right crazy old woman. Like she wasn't all right in the head. But you know, we were also a bunch of rambunctious asshole kids that probably deserved getting knocked around a little bit too. So you know, good times. Oh yeah, no, she would chase you off her property with the lawnmower revved up and lifted because she was definitely trying to get rid of you, or she would just fire up her weed eater and chase after you, or the dog or whatever it was. She hated people. I don't know exactly what happened to her because by the time I moved back into the neighborhood, she was long gone. And most of the neighbors were just like, "Yeah, no, don't you worry about it. She's gone." I was like, "Well, I mean that's fine, but I mean, is she all right?" "Oh yeah, no, she's fine. She just ain't here no more." "Oh, okay, well, cool. Long as there's not gonna be problems." But you know, of course, I don't live in that neighborhood anymore, so even if she was, she ain't my problem anymore. No, yeah, no, I've got stories, I've got scars that prove that my stories were real. Yeah, we got up to a lot of trouble when I was a kid. But again, it was all heat of the moment, core memories, best best thing in the world that my mother happily kicked us out of the house and let us experiment and terrorize half the neighborhood. Oh, Fire Nation attacked again. It's alright. But yeah, no, I mean, it was like, yeah, she would attack us, she would chase after us, but again, to be fair, we were a bunch of smart ass kids who thought we were better off than we were, so we probably deserved to get knocked down a peg or two. But I mean, like I said, she's not in that neighborhood anymore, and I don't live over there anymore, so it's not my problem to begin with. Okay. We'll leave the gold. I think we'll leave all of their bodies gold. I think that will wind up looking really good. Let's see if we can get a little bit of this bright red to take, as I think that will be a rather nice color to make things pop. That's going on. Or, well, it's going on nice, but it's drying to be a little dull, but we'll see how it goes. There you go. Yeah, no, I definitely terrorized my fair share of the neighborhood, and I probably deserved getting, knocked down a peg or three. But yeah, I've had some crazy neighbors, but she's no longer my problem, and I don't live in that neighborhood anymore, so wouldn't be a problem if I was still there, or if she was still there anyway. Oh yeah, all learning experiences. Some better than others. Like learning that when your parent tells you to come home when somebody's mailbox light comes on, maybe don't stick fireworks in that mailbox because that mailbox might be connected to a gas line. Learning experiences. And boy, did I learn. Well, the problem is like daily affirmation that you have to remember as an adult is more along the lines of like, I am an adult and I will be tried as one. So we typically don't seem to make the same level of stupid mistakes. Or at least not the same kind of stupid mistakes as we did when we were kids. Oh, yeah, no, that's my daily affirmation every time I start to lose my temper at work because, when I was a kid, if I lost my temper, I'd go and swing on somebody, and that would solve my problem. It would create a few new problems, but it would solve my immediate problem. Now, if I find myself getting pissed off at work, I have to be like, okay, I am an adult, and I will be tried as one. An assault is something I can be tried for as an adult. So maybe I don't need to swing my cane at this guy's head. As much as it would solve all of my problems currently with this person, and I guarantee they won't talk to me sideways ever again. But I'm also broke enough as it is, I don't really need to put myself in a position where I can be more broke. So, you kind of, you gotta toe the line on we get to make different dumb decisions as adults. Oh no, I we had the neighborhood gossip, and it was her mailbox that I tried to set on fire, not knowing it was attached to a gas line. But she still lives in the neighborhood, and I will never forget when I moved back in with my ex-wife shortly after my son was he had just turned 1, and we moved in. As soon as the weather got nice, we went around and introduced ourselves to the neighbors because we had moved in when it was winter and we weren't going to disturb anybody who was in their home, so we waited until summer when everybody was outside and we were introducing ourselves. As it turned out, my neighbor knew my ex-wife and was like, "Oh, you moved into that old family house." And she's like, "Oh yeah, no, I married the one of the kids who used to live there." And this neighbor looked immediately in my direction, squinted her eyes at me, and said, "Oh, you? Yeah, hi, ma'am. How you doing? Hope you're doing all right." As she very much still remembered me. So yes, I am very aware of how you may know that neighbors are always watching. As anytime I got in trouble while I lived in that neighborhood, it was always her who ratted me out. Well, yeah, I have the habit of apparently just leaving really interesting impressions on things and people, and almost blowing up 3 city blocks by mistake might be a bad impression to leave on people. Because yeah, it wasn't just her mailbox that was gas powered. Almost everyone's mailbox had a gas line running to it. Some of them were shut off, others weren't. So when I caught her mailbox on fire, well, the fire department was very less than pleased, and the only reason I wasn't the one, on the hook for it was I was not the one who had access to the fireworks. Because my mother didn't let me play with fireworks. However, my neighbor, on the other hand, he had access to fireworks, which meant at that time we had access to fireworks. I don't know if she was making the right call, holding a grudge for 20-something years, but you know, I also can't really blame her, all things considered. But again, like I said, we make very different stupid decisions as adults, because if I was still making those same stupid decisions as I was as a kid, I would probably not be able to be in a public setting at all. Because I got up to some stupidly wild shit. Oh yeah, no, like my mother knew it. My mother knew I had something to do with it, so I still got my ass beat for it. Because she was like, okay, I know your friend. I know he's dumb, but he's not that dumb, and you're the only one who would come up with the idea to use firepower to blow up something you couldn't shoot out. So you may not have been the one who had access to fireworks, but you definitely were the one who suggested to use them. I am appalled you would think such a thing of me. How dare you think so lowly of me? Well, funny you should say that, Callie, as that's also happened too. That is that's a painful story, but that is a story I have. But no, and I wasn't even the one being silly at that point. I got tossed in a spot that I couldn't really get out. Oh yeah, no, that was the thing. Like I was also a very bad liar as a kid, so it was quite obvious that I had something to do with that situation. And my mother wasn't stupid. She was like, okay, I know the neighbor kid had access to fireworks because he's almost always out here shooting them off. But if he's out here shooting them off and this is the first time a mailbox ever got exploded, there's only one common factor here that explains why it only happened just now. After I gave the directive that my child needed to be home when that mailbox lit up. Which means they've already been out there shooting at the mailbox, and now they've upped their game into bigger and badder firepower. I don't know. I would like to think that I'm passable at doing so now, but again, I do find honesty to be the better aspect of things. Because, I mean, if you're already in trouble, you might as well be like, okay, here's what happened. Because if I tell you 3 different stories, you're going to get pissed off, and then, you know, every bit of those consequences are just going to increase. So, you know, here you go. I fucked up. I did a dumb. I did something stupid. How is it that I have to pay for this? But I also had a sibling that would very much go out of their way to get me in trouble, to keep themselves out of trouble. So I very much developed a. I will happily tell you the truth, but understand that if I'm telling you the truth, I'm not wanting to be questioned about it. I'm going to tell you exactly how it is, and then I'm going to be done with it and just accept whatever consequences I have. Okay. Oh no. I grabbed the wrong brain, because I'm a genius. There we go. Better brain. One that will actually work. Okay, this is actually gonna take a lot longer than I thought it would. Because at least for the wings, I'm gonna need at least 2 coats. If not more. Okay, well, you know, the more you do. But it'll be alright. I mean, no, that's 100% fair, and something I'm trying to get my 2 gremlins to understand, because they definitely think my eldest is terrible at lying, even though he thinks he's great at it. And my youngest believes that she can just turn on the waterworks to get whatever she wants, and that may work at their other house, but it does not work here with me. And I understand being a sibling myself, so it's fairly easy for me to figure out what happened versus, what I'm being told. But I also do just try to sit down and talk to them, because they don't have to be the same way that I was. They don't have to sit here and get themselves in more and more trouble trying to avoid it, when they can just tell me what happened and we can all move on together from it. Slowly but surely, they're getting it. Yeah, this is gonna... This is gonna take me a lot longer than I was expecting. But so far, it's actually not looking bad. Though I can tell that I am tired. But we'll still try and get as much of this done as we can. Yeah. This green's not looking that great. It's streaking a hell of a lot for some reason. Oh well. Oh yeah, go get you some good rest there, Callie. There's no reason to force yourself to stay awake if you don't need to. Go ahead and get you some good rest and get you a lot more rest than 2 hours. Especially if you still have work to go through. Because I know I'm probably only going to give this about 30 or so more minutes of trying to get as much of this as I can done tonight, which will probably only be about one more butterfly. If that, but we'll give it the good old college try. But I do hope that you get you some good sleep tonight, and that, if nothing else, the day will treat you a little easier tomorrow, and yeah, that is going to be a problem. But I do hope that the night treats you well, and that tomorrow treats you just as well, if not a little bit better. Oh yeah, this yellow is awful. Why did I do this to myself? Yeah, that's gonna be multiple codes just to get that to even show up once. Okay. Maybe we'll swap out. I will. You have a wonderful night there, Callie. I won't be up too much longer. And then I'll be trying to get me some good rest before I go back into the shenanigans of tomorrow. But good night, Callie. Have a wonderful night and sleep well. Okay, so I'll probably get that orange back out, or I'll get a new orange next time I stream. Alright. That will be. That actually should be a pretty blue. Alright. Interesting. I didn't bring that in here with me. Thought that I did. That's not what I was supposed to do there. Oops. Oh well. So we're making some good progress here. Okay, that's actually not turning out bad. Let me go grab my... I don't know, we'll just see how long it'll last. Okay, well, white. Okay. Probably gonna need to give 2 coats of paint for that. Why are you still acting like you have blue in you? You shouldn't. Yeah, this won't need at least one more coat of paint. I mean, I will take making some progress on it. Considering this was a project I should have done almost 3 years ago, this isn't too terribly bad. And to be fair, not bad for free-handing a lot of this either. Alright. Not too bad. Let's see, touch of this yellow here a little bit. Yeah, that might be about as far as it's really going to effectively get tonight. But honestly, not a bad start. So we did finish our clipper, which has turned out really well. And we have started on this long awaited project. And honestly, I'm not disappointed with it at all so far. I don't like that the yellow isn't really showing. Like, it is showing, but it's not at the same time. So I'm gonna just try to keep going. I'll open up a couple more colors, probably, or at least gather the colors tomorrow. That way we can move forward a little bit more quickly on Wednesday. But Wednesday, we're going to see if we can't at least get the majority of this finished. And then I may, if that winds up being the case, I may just go ahead and finish it up on Thursday. We'll see. We'll see what kind of mood I'm in. But for now, let me swap my camera off here real quick and get back to the other area. So bear with me just a moment and I'll be right back.
Alright. I think that is going to run me out for the rest of the night, as it has been a rather enjoyable evening. I definitely cannot complain with how the progress has gone. And again, I've knocked out almost all of my new pile of shame to start being able to work on my old one. And we're definitely hitting the oldest part of that pile first. So we'll see how things wind up going. But I do want to thank all of you for hanging out with me here tonight. I do hope that the day winds up going quickly, easily, and well for all of you who are either starting your day or getting ready to start your day. Let's just hope that the rest of this week treats us all nice, quiet, and as gently as it can be. Because I know myself, I'm quite tired already, and it's only Monday. But we'll see how things wind up going, and hopefully it'll wind up being a good week altogether. But you all, thank you very much for hanging out with me tonight and seeing the progress that we've made. We will catch you all again either on Wednesday or in the server or within a couple of other people's streams. But with that stated, I hope you have a wonderful afternoon, morning, evening, or night, however it finds you. And va fail, everyone. Catch you next time.